right, welcome everybody to our latest MX Vice SMX review show podcast as we talk all things Arlington from what was a fascinating weekend of action. Firstly, thank you everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Fox, Scott, and Whole Shop Motorhomes, as well as Even Strokes for all their incredible support, as without them, none of this would obviously be possible. All right, for this episode, we have another Whiskey Throttle times MX Vice collab, as I'm joined by Whiskey Throttle Editor-at-Large Jeff Beaver. Firstly, how's life, and thanks for joining us, mate. Looked like a good one in Arlington.
Yeah, man, it was a great weekend, a very long one. I walked in the door where I'm staying 5 minutes ago. I got up at I've already got a 12-hour day in, and it's noon West Coast time in the United States. So I got 3 hours sleep after a very epic day, and yeah, it was an absolute blast. So I think my ass left some skid marks across the gravel when I walked from my truck to my door, but I'm good. We're gonna bang out a podcast, and then I'm gonna snooze for a couple hours.
Oh, mate, yeah, cheers for joining us. Sounds like a massive weekend for you. And we're also joined by MX Vice tester Brad Wheeler. So how's life, and thanks for joining us too, mate.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Could possibly have been a lot better. I was saying earlier that yeah, I was supposed to be in Florida about now for the Triumph launch. But yeah, basically I'll give you a brief synopsis of what's happened in the past week. I filled in like an online application to renew my passport because it runs out in July. I didn't have any pending trips until sort of May time, so I thought I'd get it done. Yeah, sent my old passport back a week ago on Thursday. Got a phone call on Friday from the guys at Triumph saying, yeah, we're doing the Triumph launch. Sorry, it's a little bit last minute. It's in Florida next Sunday. Are you available? You're not really gonna say no, so we just said yeah, and just sort of preempted that I might not have a passport, so don't book a flight yet. So yeah, His Majesty's Passport Office about 700 times in the week trying to get the passport back. Yeah, after several emails, several phone calls. On Friday, they assured me it'd be back on Saturday. Yeah, watch the postman walk down the road on Saturday, hand me my post with no passport. So yeah, pretty cheesed off about the whole situation. But they said they'll be doing a UK launch in March-ish time, so we'll get on that one. And yeah, yeah, should have renewed my passport earlier, like my wife suggested, but so partly my fault, but mainly His Majesty's Passport Office's fault. But hey
You're
ho.
not gonna hear the end of that one. You're not gonna hear the end of that
Oh,
one from your wife, bro.
it's
You
a
better write that
real
down.
it is a real kick in the teeth. I mean, not very often you get a chance to ride a brand new machine, not let alone a new model from a manufacturer, but a brand new manufacturer as well. So yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll bring out a 450 and maybe the Ducati launch as well.
Hmm.
So maybe
Ooh, that would be
fingers
a
crossed
blast.
Harley Davidson make a bike as well or something.
Nah,
I had that thought recently, and I was hoping that Harley would do something, but I just don't see it, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be wrong, but that would be rad if Harley built a bike. They'd sell millions of
Yeah.
them just from all the old fat guys with beer bellies and handlebar mustaches that wanted to be cool.
Yeah, I don't see any. I think if you see another brand, it'll be like an older brand that's come back, like Mako or Kajiva, something like that, maybe.
Yeah,
yeah, it's a pretty
definitely.
good place for the sport, isn't it? There's like people wanting to get back into it, which is awesome, mate. So hopefully, yeah, the Triumph test, you can get to the one in the UK and Europe, mate, because yeah, that's a bit of a disaster for you. But yeah, hopefully, you never know. Is it possible it could come tomorrow, the passport? But we'll keep the eyes peeled, mate. Hopefully, you make it there somehow. So, but yeah, on to the racing, and I'll start with you, Jeff. Obviously, being there, and then Brad can have his thoughts afterwards. I guess we'll start with Faulkner's crash, just devastating for such a great rider. He's been through so much adversity in his career. It's been quite a long career now already, and He's had so much disaster. He's had so many wins as well, so many good moments, but everyone sort of was hoping for the best, praying for the best when he went down then. And thankfully his dad's sort of posted an update this morning saying that his scout and his head came back good, fractured L3 and L4 in the back, no surgery on that one. That's going to heal on its own. Also a broken scapula, which will heal on its own. So no surgery needed. I guess in the grand scheme of things, how nasty that crash was, probably the best we could hope for, but we hope to see him back out there as soon as possible and, you know, getting those wins again. So how was it from you, mate? It would have been pretty tense moments on the floor in Arlington.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying, everything was great. And I don't know if you guys caught it or if they showed it on the TV broadcast. I'll probably watch that and doze off here after we get done. But Vial had a similar crash in the same spot, and McAdoo almost ate it over the same jump, same thing. I think the only thing that saved McAdoo is he's real tall and lanky, and his natural suspension, you know, his legs kind of soaked it up. Faulkner, he just got bitch slapped by his bike and went flying, and it just sucked, man. I mean, if you think about it, he won every race he entered up to, you know, both heats in his main at Detroit. You know, he won the heat at Detroit, the main at Detroit. He won his heat last night. I mean, he was on fire. You know, Hammaker got fastest qualifier, which was freaking rad. We'll talk about that later, but you know, he still looked great all night, you know, and there was just a vibe around him. I talked to him at the truck. He was just super good mood. You know, we talked about one of his other gnarly events at Washougal last year when he cheese grated himself in his rear tire. And you know, I asked him what they did with that jersey, and he said, "Oh, Fox is framing it up and like gonna put it up at the thing." And I was like, "Dude, that was just, you're a savage for that one," you know. And he just kind of smiled and just gave him a fist bump. But his mental state of mind, he looked like he was on top of the world, man. And me and Bruce were talking about this on the drive back from the airport just a few minutes ago. Like, you know, it's not like he was riding around in 6th, 7th place and then he ate shit and, oh, you know, there goes Faulkner crashing again. No, it was nothing like that. The dude was A game, top of the world, just ready to go. It just sucked because I think the whole industry was ready to see Austin do his thing, you know. And we all kind of wanted um see him win, you know, and just do good. And I don't know, the whole thing was frustrating. I didn't see the wreck itself. He was over on the rhythm lane after the start, and I was in the center by the pylons, and I heard the crowd just go nuts. And I looked over and I could see the Alpine Stars guys sprinting like the whole crew ran. So you knew something bad happened. And then 2 seconds later, I turned around and I see Deegan pop up in the air and his green lights were on. I was like, oh crap, Austin went down. Hope it's not bad. And then they were over there for a while. So, you know, it wasn't good. But yeah, it just kind of took the wind out of the night, you know, when he knowing that he got hurt that bad.
Yeah, your thoughts on the whole thing, Brad, just before we sort of transition to your thoughts, just get some stats from Paul Pierce. He's just sent these through the Arlington stat attack. You can check that out online. But yeah, obviously the most consistent lap times while he was racing, Faulkner only had 1.41 seconds between his fastest and slowest. So it just shows how well he was going. And he had the fastest lap time of the main event ahead of Hymas and Deegan. So led 16 laps. It was all trending in a fine direction for him to keep up the momentum until it wasn't it, Brad?
Yeah, he looked really good, just sort of like real like in a neutral position on the bike, wasn't sort of overriding it, like over the front, over the back. He was real sort of, yeah, central on the bike, letting the bike move underneath him where it needed to, and yeah, just sort of hitting his marks, and things were going really well. And then yeah, it looked like he just sort of I mean, the guys seemed like they were clipping the edge of that table like all night, really, but it just seemed like he clipped it a little bit too much, and it chucked his weight forward, and then his left hand come off, and then yeah, obviously hit that next takeoff, and yeah, shot him off to the right, and yeah, real slap onto the concrete, which yeah, pretty brutal. But so I did see a picture and a video of him sort of walking off, like slightly aided, but obviously conscious and a bit with it. So yeah, I think I read somewhere that his dad said like his one of his contact lenses came out or something halfway through the main event or something. So, I mean, I don't know if that played a part in it. I don't know how bad his vision is without his contacts, but yeah, I mean, it's just a mistake, just one of those things that happens in Supercross. It's just unforgiving sport. You'd make a little judgment error and it can bite you in the ass. And but yeah, I mean, hopefully it's nothing too serious. And we obviously he's probably going to miss a few rounds, but hopefully we see him back before the end of the Supercross season. Fingers crossed, because yeah, I don't think anyone can argue that he was the best guy really up until that point. Like Jeff said, he'd won both his heats in the main. He nailed the starts, and yeah, looking like the Faulkner really that we saw in 2019, minus the just the he was just less erratic, just looked much more in control. But yeah, as it is, this why we line up each week, because anything can happen. So yeah, but Brit's got the red plate, so who'd have thought that the best 250 Supercross rider in the world was a Brit? There you go.
Yeah, we'll sort of touch on him later. His great ride to come back through the field after a rough start, but he just put yourself in the position, I guess, to be there. And he's sort of, with all the carnage going around him, it's pretty cool to see Anstey doing that, continuing his excellent sort of recent Supercross resurgence. He's been great. So obviously we'll start with you on the Deegan sort of topic as well, Jeff. Obviously so much fanfare and always something going on around Deegan. And he obviously got that win and did the ghost ride. And a lot of people, the fans, are just so divisive on his character and the comments and the way he holds himself. Obviously he made that comment saying he put the pressure on Faulkner, and all of them have come out in droves for and against him. But pretty impressive ride. He's an absolute weapon on a dirt bike and really showed no signs of those injuries. He's got that sort of killer mindset and sort of puts on that really sort of staunch sort of persona that he just like looks ready for action and ready for any sort of fight. But yeah, the fitness looked good. The riding was solid. He said he was ready to sort of engage in a duel with Faulkner. He felt that he was catching him. So it would have been pretty cool if we got to see that in the dying stages of the race. But yeah, Deegan, pretty impressive, mate. How was it from your perspective? Did the fans in Dallas love him or hate him or both?
Oh, the fans absolutely loved him. I mean, short of AP, he got the biggest ovation. I mean, I think right now he's probably the biggest draw in the sport. I mean, especially after the win last night, I think Daytona is going to go absolutely bonkers when he comes out. I mean, he's got the world by the balls right now, and yeah, I mean, hey, he says things. He's a showman. He's just like his dad. He's gonna stir the pot a little bit, and in the press conference last night, he says, "Hey, I got my fans who support me and my haters who motivate me." Basically, kind of the gist of what he said. I mean, he knows what's up. He's great at the mind games. I didn't happen to catch what he said on the podium. But it's kind of hard to hear what they're saying. It's so echoey down there on the floor, right, with all the mics and everything. So I didn't quite catch what he said, but and I was talking to his mechanic a lot of that time. But yeah, he plays the game, and man, he looked good. He ran it up in on Austin in one of the heat races, but he kept it super clean. I really, really wish that we could have seen that battle come to a head, because I think they would have both kept it clean. I think Deegan, he wants to beat people, but he wants to beat people clean, and I mean, he's not afraid to stuff a wheel in there, but he's not going to send you into the cheap seats either. It would have been epic, but I guess we'll never know. At least this year, with what his dad put out. I mean, that's going to take time to heal. The season's going to be over before he's good to go. I mean, Rhino's probably got some crazy hippie shit that he can do, but I mean, I don't see it coming back from that quick. I mean, Seth had those compression fractures after SMX, and it took him a while to get back on the bike. And I think that's one of those things you got to let heal up. But I think Austin will be back. I don't think he's gonna go out like that. I was talking to one of the PC guys today at the airport, and he says, "Hey, he's come back from worse." And yeah, he has. When he took that handlebar to the gut, and what do you think? He lost his spleen or something. But And he had an internal injury that was pretty gnarly, and he came back from that. So a couple cracked vertebrae, yeah, that's bad, but it's all bone fractures at the end of the day, and don't require surgery. He'll heal up good. He's just going to be in a lot of pain for a couple weeks, but we haven't seen the last of him, and hopefully he can get healed up and get dialed and come back for outdoors, because his racing was just awesome to watch. I mean, he was fast as, the fast AF, he was on it. And wish him nothing but the best, and hope he gets back sooner than later. And I think his mental game's pretty tough. I don't think it's gonna really destroy him. I think he'll use it as a tool to even be harder than he was this time when he came back. I just hope the stars align for him, and we can get a full season out of him to where he has a base to build off of, because they all talk about, the injuries. Just, you need that base to build off of and come back and get your confidence up, and and just start laying some wood down and get comfortable and seat time. And it kind of, I wonder, because I've never ridden at that level, like, when you have so much time off the bike, is there things you can do and then you just go to do them, but your timing's off a little bit? Does some of that have to play into it? I don't know. And maybe Brad can speak to that, because he rides at a much higher level than I ever have. But, is that a kind of a contributing factor when you've been off so long and you've been at a level before? Do you start getting comfortable and going after moves on the track, and then it bites you? I don't know. I don't think he made a mistake. I think it was just you were playing with fractions of inches, and it just caught him. I mean, it caught Vial, it caught McAdoo, and almost got McAdoo. So I don't think it was just necessarily Austin made a mistake. I just think it was just one of those things where the fractions of inches got him.
Yeah, yeah, I think I mean, these guys are so in tune with their bikes and the way they ride, like they're just like second nature, just like breathe into them. But yeah, I think with you have a lot of time off, it's not that they can't do it anymore. Just I guess the speed that your brain tells you to do it down to like you actually doing it is slightly delayed to what it would be if you're constantly riding at that level. But yeah, I don't think his crash can be attributed to that. I think it was, yeah, just purely just like you said, just a fraction out, and yeah, bit him in the ass. But I mean, yeah, Hayden. I hold my hands up. I'm not a massive Danger Boy fan. I've got no issues with him really, just not a big fan. But you got to respect the hell out of the kid. The way he rides, he rides with a lot of heart. He's aggressive. You can tell he's put the work in. He's not flagging at the end of the races. And yeah, I mean, he'll race you hard. He'll race you fair for the most part. I mean, he had a little run in with was it Faulkner in the heat race, and but I don't have an issue with it. I mean, you're out there to win, whether it's a heat race or not. And I think yeah, I'd have done the same thing. If you can get in there and rub elbows with someone and throw them off their game, then fuck it, get in there, do it. And but I don't have an issue with the way he rides. It's the podium interviews that get me. I just, I mean, um, I'll give you a brief lowdown of what he said, Jeff. You said you didn't hear it, but I'm pretty sure at one point he sort of said his little piece about how the race went, and then it was just like welcome to the danger zone, baby. And I mean, I don't know if the crowd heard it or got into it, but there was no crowd noise picked up on the mic. It was just dead. And then he really doubled down with the horns and the tongue through the horns, like fucking. I just wanted to die at that point. I was just like, ugh. Just like Homer Simpson backing into the bushes. It was
Yeah.
yeah, it was a bit sickening to listen to. But I mean, like you said, he's a showman, just like his old man. So I mean, some people love it. I I'd rather not have to listen to it. But I mean, yeah, you got to respect the kid. The effort has been put in. You can tell by the way he rides. It's energetic and yeah, he lays it all out there. So yeah, I'm like, congrats to him for getting his first Supercross win. Um, and yeah, the Ghost Ride, I think it was awesome. I mean, if you're good enough to be part of a family where you've got like your old man's won a Supercross race and like he's done something this sort of stood the test of time, and you get that opportunity to do something similar, you, you run with it because it's just one of those things. I think he did the right thing by not doing it over the finish double. Probably would have been a bit sketchy. So I think, yeah, it was a smart move on his part to finish the race and then just sort of do it over that little step on, step off. But yeah, just trying to like, if for example, like Hakan Carquist stopped for the beer in the moor, if he had a son that had a massive lead at GP, you bet your ass he's going to stop for a beer. It's just one of those things, and like the ghost ride it's like renowned with the Deegan name. So um yeah, he got his win, done the ghost ride, and I think his fans will lap it up. But we can move on. But yeah, congrats to him. And yeah, it was obviously a good rebound after his first round where he had a bit of a shitter. So yeah.
Yeah, it's always exciting racing and pretty unpredictable, the 250s. And it was good to see McAdoo getting on the box in this one. Obviously, great rider. So the last round's efforts where Jeff was sort of documented it and had a pretty balls out photo of him there, mate. But it was good to see him bounce back. And he's right up there in terms of the title contenders for sure. He's a great rider, really fast. And he's one that likes to lay it all on the line as well. And VL, really impressive effort there. You feel like that was a really great ride. Should give him a lot of confidence. And he's sort of coming along quite nicely in Supercross. And after that huge crash, he recovered pretty well to get that podium, even though, he probably wouldn't have got it without Faulkner's incident. But yeah, that's his first podium in Supercross. And I guess win will be on the cards for him next. Class is pretty open. So you start with your thoughts on McAdoo and Vial, mate, because they were pretty impressive, weren't they?
Yeah. Hey, when I was at the press conference, Cameron would come walking in, and that was the first time I'd seen him like walking around, just all over the place yesterday. And the berries aren't they're not ripe yet. They're still pretty green. He's pretty sore, and frickin' Jace McAlpin. Oh god, that guy's comedy.
Yeah.
Him and I were pretty much the only guys in the press conference, and then everybody else was virtual. And he just he had, how Jace has his way of saying shit, and it's smooth, funny as shit. And I followed up a question, but he brought up he's like, oh, I'm not going to talk about the berries, and then he totally went into the berries and talking about how I could get him a plug with Manscaped, and
Yeah.
how nice his plums were. And I'm like, fuck, dude, really? Come on, man. I'm trying to like keep it between the lines here on the Feld press conference, and you're talking about his plums. I even made a comment. I'm like, man, how do I follow that one, dude? And but yeah, he you could tell he's still he tore some things. He tore some skin down there. He had a bleeder, so it's still bugging him a little bit. Then I guess he banged up his knee pretty good. So the fact that his balls went through a meat grinder, and then he smacked his knee real good, and then still came back and got on a podium. I mean, the kid's a warrior. He anybody who rides around naked in front of the whole world and on TV, and then with a knee that's mangled and his nut sack torn apart, and then can come back a couple weeks later and podium. Yeah, the dude's a savage. I mean, he had like the world's worst highlight reel hook on your bike flip a couple years ago. I think that was in Atlanta, and he came back and raced the main, yeah, which was pretty sketchy, but the dude does not know how to quit. I mean, I think he's right up there with Deegan or any of those guys when it comes to being a savage. He's just a quiet savage, you know what I mean? But the dude's got no quit in him, so that was rad. And yeah, Vial, I make no qualms that I'm a big Seth fan, and I was like, come on, go, go, go. And when Vial passed him, I was like, damn it. I wanted to get him on the box and uh talk to him in the press conference, but we'll get there. But I was stoked for Vial because, hey man, That's pretty rad. They said it was his 12th attempt at racing, and he's already on the box. So that was pretty cool. I was gonna ask him a question in the press conference, and then I don't know, my brain was pretty shut off. I asked something of Deegan, and then Dan kind of wrapped up the press conference, and I probably could have said, "Hey, hold on, I got something for Vial," but my brain was pretty much a pile of mush. But I wanted to ask him, hey, now that you've made the podium, what was your plan coming in? Did you guys have did you set a goal of being on the podium by X round, or was this just a learning year, kind of continuation? What were your thoughts? I wish I would have asked him that question, but Gebhardt asked him a couple of questions from Vermoto, asked him a question, but Tom was pretty sore, and I don't think he was too upset not to do a lot of talking. I think he wanted to get the hell out of there and go to bed. He looked like a whoop puppy. So, but yeah, I think he showed some speed in his riding last night. I think he stepped up his game pretty good. And Marv was on our Whiskey Throttle show recently, and he was talking about working with Vial, and like last year he was just going to the races with him. Well, this year he's like working with him. So I think there's going to be some definite improvements there. And Marv was a real crafty racer and super, super fast. And I think you're going to see a lot of that transfer into Vial and morph his riding style. And you're going to see some technique in him in the coming weeks that we didn't see last year, or may not have expected. But I think he's gonna hurt some feelings here coming up pretty quick. The dude's a world champion for a reason, and I'm stoked to just see it, because with Forkner out, we're gonna need somebody who can get up there besides McAdoo and Hammaker, and your boy over there, Max, that can hurt some feelings. We want to be like the 450 class where shit, nobody knows who's gonna win. So I think it's absolutely fantastic what he did.
Yeah, it's good for Tom get his first podium. He was so close, like his first round last year, just sort of tipped over in that turn in Houston. But yeah, good for him to get his first podium. He moved up past Seth. Yeah, Seth made a bit of a charge towards the end, closed the gap right in, but yeah, just a little bit too late. Yeah, I mean, obviously it wouldn't have happened had Fortner not crashed, but yeah, ifs and buts, candies and nuts. Yeah, and obviously Max didn't really get the start he wanted, sort of got into a bit of a back and forth with Pierce. The gist I got from just watching the timing screen didn't actually show any of it, but they seem to be going backwards and forwards a lot on the timing screen. So I think that might have slowed him up a little bit. I think maybe he could have got to fifth, but still he's got the points lead. And yeah, it's listening to his interview after the race, he seemed pretty happy with his riding, seems happy on the bike, and I think a comfortable Max Anstey is a Max Anstey that can do some damage, especially with one of the top guys going out now. It's one less guy that he's got to contend with. And I mean, Deegan's still like not even second in the points. He's still fifth and still 7 points down. So obviously not a massive gap, but it's something to play with. I think Max will be good at Daytona. I think that track sort of suits him a little bit, with being a little bit softer and sandy and not so wide open. I think that will play into his favor. So yeah, I think we're in for a good year. I think obviously that first turn crash at round one is really sort of spice the championship up with, because I think Deegan and McAdoo are quicker than Max, so it's good that they've got to try and make up points, and he's just got to sort of try and maintain. But obviously it's there's still some racing left to go, so you can't just maintain too much. He's still gonna have to go out and beat him heads up at some point. So yeah, I think we're in for a good remaining East 250 East series.
Yeah, well said, mate. And any final thoughts before we jump into the 450 class, Jeff or Brad? Obviously, Hammaker getting fourth was excellent. Pierce Brown fifth, really talented rider. He was on your Sight Lap podcast last week on Whiskey Throttle, wasn't he? And he really had some cool things to say. Everything coming together, and soon he should be sort of battling for podiums and wins he's feeling. So super talented rider. So once he pieces it all together, gets a really nice start, he should be up there, shouldn't he, mate?
Yeah, I mean, Pierce is great, and Pierce, he doesn't have quite the uh, rough road that like Faulkner's had, but he's had a rough road too, with injuries and stuff like that. And we've never even really got to see his stuff. And so getting a fifth last night, and he's stepping up his game, and I think he's at the point in his career and his riding that he now has a taste of what he needs to do, and the heat race win recently, and I think he's got all the components to squeak out a race win and be up there and be one of the guys. I just think he's just got to do a little more polishing, and he'll be right there, get his starts and run up front. And I think he'll be one of the main contenders. I mean, he's a great guy, great personality, ripper on a bike. He's almost there, and I think he'll get there. I think we'll see it before the season's over, and Seth, I don't know what happened in the main. I don't know if just Tom was just faster or if Seth um, got tired. I don't know. I haven't looked at the lap times or anything like that to kind of figure out if does anybody know if his lap times fell off? Did he stay consistent, or did Tom just run him down? Tom was on a heater, pissed off little French guy, probably hard to beat, I don't know what happened there, but I really want to see Seth's stuff. Him getting P1 was freaking rad. I think he was eighth in the first qualifying, then P1, and then did real good in the heat race. Got a third, I think, in the heat race, and then was running third for a while in the main. And it was like, come on, buddy, you can do it, you can do it. But I think he'll get there. I want to see him get his next win. I think it'll be good for his confidence, and he's come back from a real long road too. It's at PC, man. I don't know what the juju is over there, but it's just like, man, they just got the worst luck the last couple of years. So I'm praying, knock on wood, that that's over now, and the rest of the boys, east and west, can finish it out and show their best stuff. And just really, I want everybody to just walk away healthy. And we had a decimated 450 field last year, and I don't want to see the 250 field end up like that this year. And just kind of hope that's the end of it, and we can have some badass racing through October. That's what I hope.
Yeah. Before we go to the 450s, did anyone see the heat two of the 250s? It was absolute mayhem for the last transfer spot between Hardy, Munoz, Brock Pappy, and Linville.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, those three were just going at it. Like Hardy caught him up, made the pass, and then Linville just like tees him off, sends him over into the whoops, and he like doubles back from the whoops onto the track. It was fucking mayhem. It was the best bit of racing I've seen in ages. And like, I mean, Hardy's like full send all the time, and like props to him. That section where Faulkner ate shit, he did the same thing, but just like in pure Hardy fashion, just fully rode it out. It was unbelievable. It was anyone who skips the heat races just watch the main events is a muppet, because that was the best bit of racing I've seen in a while. That is worth going back and watching. I'm tempted to like watch it in a minute again just for entertainment. And also, I forgot to say on Deegan's podium interview, he was talking about Faulkner's crash, and just like talking about like the pressure getting to him, and it was just like, fucking hell, mate. Like blokes just let sparked out on the floor. Like give him some credit. It was like fucking listening to Ivan Drago talk about Apollo Creed. Just like
I saw
if
that
he
meme. I think
dies,
Moto
if he
meme.
dies, he dies. Yeah, exactly. It's like, Jesus, dude. It's like, just say, yeah, he was riding really well. But this it's tough out there, and then just leave it there. He just kept sort of beating him. But yeah, I mean, you got to love the 250 class.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah,
And
there's a
obviously
little
a
bit of
quick shout out.
inexperience.
Yeah, absolutely. And a quick shout out to Shock as well, tied for third in the points after his eighth place. Really cool to see him holding his own at the moment, and that Club MX switch has just been ideal for him. And obviously on the Cooper Webb, start with you, Jeff. Obviously, you asked him some great questions in that press conference, mate. You were holding your own there yourself. And yeah, he was sort of struggling all night, wasn't he? But he, I guess, put himself in position to get that win. He loves Texas, and I believe they were saying first race win in almost a year as well. So pretty impressive. He turned his fortunes around on the night, and I guess back east, definitely ominous signs for the rest of the field. And he's a mindset guy, and obviously he said he wasn't feeling so great, and the team sort of instilled in him that he's a really bad dude on the dirt bike, and he can do whatever. So he needed that little bit of a perk up, and it definitely worked. And must be pretty fascinating under that Star Yamaha truck with you got Deegan, Tomac, Webb. There's so many heavy hitters with really strong mindsets. So how was it from you, mate? How good was Webb? And obviously Tomac you can talk on as well.
Yeah, Webb was on it yesterday, and I still think Jet's a click above everybody else. Jet's beating himself. He's got a little bit of James Stewart in him. He's kind of doing some Cal's type stuff. He's just crash or win, right? And he needs to probably staff those tough blocks and give him a little more leeway, because he just keeps seeing. I think that's what I saw. He kind of clipped one again, and he just flirts with disaster a little too much. And I think he'll reel that in. But Webb, if you make a mistake, Webb's going to be there to mop it up. And yeah, I think it was rad to see him just get a straight up win. He got the overall at the Triple Crown, and so that's number 2 on the year. But it kind of, that's why I asked him in the press conference. It kind of reminds me of the 21 season, where it was okay, but it wasn't great. And then all of a sudden he just, he's like a diesel engine. Diesel doesn't run so great when it's cold in the morning, but once you get that son of a bitch running and going, get out, it's just going to keep pulling, and I think he's just getting ahead of steam. So this feels a lot like the 21 season for me with Coop. I think he's going to, depending on how Daytona goes for him, if he ends up on the box in Daytona, I think everybody ought to really be a little worried if Tomac and Jetson just make him look silly, and AP goes out there and has a great race, and he doesn't make the box at Bay douse the flames a little bit. But if he ends up on the box at Daytona, I think it's a bad sign for everybody else, because don't let that guy get comfortable, because he'll kick your ass. He's a gnarly little dude. He's what does Deegan say? He's got the dog in him. So he'll get after it. And then Tomac, that was nice to see Tomac come back. He said he fought arm pump pretty bad at Detroit. Said it was pulling the bike down and just kind of kicking the shit out of him. And boy, that heat race with him and AP, God, that man, you should have seen that live in person. Those guys were going so fast. It was just silly being 5 feet from them as they came over that the finish line, and then hit that little table on deal across the start straight. Dude, they were going so fast. It was silly. I was just jaw on the floor. I think I was forgetting to take pictures, half the time, because I was just watching. I was like, oh my God, dude, these guys are like warp speed right now. They were moving. So that was great to see him. And then, in the press conference, Jace asked him about, oh, he's just so damn loud on that bike. And Jace was right, man. You could hear Tomac coming through the crowd. He was just getting it and getting it. And I think if he had a couple more laps, could you imagine him and his own teammate just going at it, and neither one of them is going to give each other an inch? I think they'd race each other pretty clean, whether they were on the same team or not. But that would have been an all-time battle for a couple laps, I think, if it would have just happened a little earlier. But in the press conference, he's like, hey man, somebody asked him if it was beast mode, and he goes, well, I didn't go backwards this time and I was coming through the pack, so yeah, I'd say so. So I think maybe we got a little taste of the beast mode coming back. And he said that those comments about being the old guy, they didn't sit well, and that sometimes the old guys got to kind of come back and remind the young guy that he's the young guy. Well, we all know who that jab was at, so it was kind of, hey, all right, here it comes. It's building, you know. So I think next week in Daytona is going to be freaking epic because we all know Jet's pretty formidable outdoors, and that's the house that Tomac built. So and Webb's in there, and can't forget about AP. AP's riding like a madman. I think we're going to have a wild night in Daytona. I think those guys showed some good stuff this weekend, and I think it's all going to come to a head next weekend.
Yeah, I think I think that's the first time I think we've really seen true beast mode from Tomac since like 2017. I think just yeah, the dude was just absolutely ripping through like that section through the sand. He was just everyone was sort of like slowing up to get on that inside berm, and he was just railing the outside, carrying so much speed out the sand. Um, yeah, just like 2 to 3 seconds a lap quicker constantly than everyone else. Like, yeah, I think another lap or two, he was going to be um right on Webb's ass. Like it was going to be on. Um, so yeah, I think to come from wherever he was, like 11th or something, up to second is pretty phenomenal. And yeah, like you said on the podium, he sounded feisty. Like this thing, he's back in this thing, and he fully believes that. So yeah, I mean, headed to Daytona. I mean, the dude's just unbelievable at Daytona anyway. Um, so yeah, I mean, I was ready to kind of write him off this year. I think I was ready to call him done, but after watching that and then heading to Daytona and hearing him on the podium, yeah, this thing's fully on. Jet's gonna need to really iron out these wrinkles that he's thrown away not a lot of points, but he's thrown away a fair amount of points now, which could like really play vital at the end of this year. I mean, he's lost 7 points like right there last night, just a stupid little mistake on his own. Um, I mean the freeze thing on the last lap. I don't really put that up to. It was just a racing incident. He saw a gap, he was going for it, and just one of those things. He clipped Vince's back wheel. I don't think that was Vince's fault. It wasn't really Jet's fault. It was just a racing thing. And yeah, Webb as well. Obviously, obviously won the Triple Crown, but didn't actually win one of the races. So that's like his first win. And yeah, another guy you don't really want to be giving confidence to. Um, I think even though he uh even though he only won, well, not only won because Jet crashed, but even though he only got past Jet because he crashed, he was still right there. Like it wasn't Jet was down for what 6 seconds, really 6 7 seconds at most. So he was still right there. And sometimes when you're not feeling 100%, you put yourself in a position where you can capitalize if something like that does happen. So yeah, I think this thing has just got just got a lot spicier for the next 10 rounds or however many rounds we've got left. And I think it's a shame about Rox and Mookie coming together. I think it's those three I think are going to start to break away in the points. Like Tomac, Webb, and Jet. Um, even though Plessinger is third and Sexton's fourth, I think Sexton's really not on the pace. He doesn't look nowhere near as good as what he did on that Honda. He kind of looks like Dungey did when he first moved to the KTM in 2012. Like doesn't look bad, but just doesn't have that pace that the front boys have got. I think Tomac's feeling comfortable again. So I think we're going to see it between Lawrence Webb and Tomac down the stretch.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating, mate. Well said. And obviously, interesting stats from Paul Piercy. Obviously, Jet Lawrence led 23 of the laps in that main event, and Webb obviously capitalized. He only led 4, and Jet's actually led 41% of all main event laps this year on 71, which is 44 more than anyone else. So it just shows what you were saying, Jeff. He's sort of beating himself, isn't he, mate? And obviously, onto the fastest lap times, Lawrence, Sexton, Cooper. Best average lap time, Webb, Tomac, Plessinger. And obviously most consistent lap times, Plessinger, Webb, and Justin Cooper, who's just sort of simmering under the surface of those heavy hitters, doing some really great rides. And obviously we've got to touch on AP in Texas. Like you said so well in the press conference, Jeff, the Cowboy, landed on the podium in Texas, which was certainly fitting. So another consistent night for him on the podium again. You know, he's actually what, as opposed to Sexton, who's probably still suffering the effects of that little injury there. But yeah, Plessinger's loving the bike, loving the team, just loving sort of being comfortable and up there every race. He's sort of a contender every time, isn't he, mate? So it's really cool to see Plessinger, and I bet the fans loved him there too.
Yeah, when he came in for opening ceremonies, it was unreal, dude. The crowd just went bananas, like I said, like the Beatles walked in the building, and he's just riding a wave right now that I don't think anybody else is riding. I don't even think Deegan's riding that wave, and I think the fans getting behind him like they are. I think a guy like that, I think it pumps him up, and I kind of touched on that in the press conference because I like to see people's reactions. You can tell really how much of the truth is in there, and I got what I wanted. I think that, man, he wakes up in the morning and he eats, breathes, and sleeps the Cowboy, and he loves that the people love him, and it inspires him and gives him his confidence to go out there and do what he's doing, and I think then that, I think, reflects in his riding. So he's just killing it. So I couldn't have been happier for him. And yeah, I mean, Cowboys got to get on the podium in Texas. I think there's laws against that. Might have been a hanging or something. I don't know. It is Texas.
Yeah, I think AP in the heat race, that battle he had going with Toback was something else. I mean, you could see the track was just absolutely prime. They were laying down some heaters, like the speed that they were carrying in some places was unreal. That step on, step off after the finish, just like it was just a straight. They're like just on and off in a blink of an eye. And yeah, I think what did AP end up? He ended up third in the main. Yeah. So again, another example of when things aren't maybe possibly going your way in the main event, you put yourself in the right positions, and if it's your year, things tend to fall your way. And yeah, AP again ended up on the box and finds himself just 7 points off the points lead again. So I mean, he's riding in the heat race. I said to my wife, I said, I think he's probably like the second best guy after Jet in the heat race. Obviously, after watching the main event, it feel a little bit different now, but he still seems to be one of the quickest out there. I mean, Mookie showed incredible speed in the heat race. That sort of three-way battle between Anderson, Jet, and Mookie was a great bit of racing, and yeah, I mean the two for a pass that Jet put on the pair of them was pretty spectacular. I mean, Mookie ended up getting back by them, or back by Jet, but just yeah, it was pretty. To be fair, overall the whole night there was some good racing, not just in the main event, but in the heat races as well. Like some good clean racing. I think the track really lent itself to like clean passes, not just like you have to run it in and T-bone the person into the cheap seats. So I hope we get some more tracks like that, really, because I think the racing was really good all night, and I'd like Hunter Lawrence again, a pretty quiet main event, really. Was up, like, sort of sat there third at the start, and yeah, put in some solid laps to begin with, and ended up fifth, which I'm pretty sure is his best result of the year. So I think, yeah, and I think a podium is on the cards for Hunter. Give him some things fall his way. I think he's capable of getting on that box now, which probably wouldn't have said after the first three rounds. I think he's sort of started to find that confidence that he had that we saw at Paris. So hopefully he can build from this fifth, and yeah, going into Daytona, he's a previous 250 winner there. So I think yeah, maybe even Daytona, he puts it up on the box.
Yeah, the championship's stacking up so well. Obviously, there's just 8 points between the top four, and there's less than 20 points between the top seven. So there's 450 classes, just giving the fans and giving all us sort of media types really great action to talk about and to watch. And it's just, yeah, like you said, mate, the racing from the heats to the LCQs to the mains has just been absolutely awesome. And yeah, you feel with Hunter, he was just sort of stuck with AP most of the race. They were sort of having their battle for a large chunk, and then he obviously made a few mistakes. But yeah, they're sort of longer races, and he's adapting to everything new with the bike and the series. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And just your thoughts on Sexton too, Jeff? Obviously, he must be still struggling a bit because that was sort of, sixth is solid enough. He's still in the fight, but just didn't look like the usual chase, even though he started the day fast in qualifying and then fourth in the heat. So any thoughts on him, and how good was it to see Mookie have some flashes of that electric speed as well, even though the main event didn't go to plan? He's definitely sort of looked like he had his mojo back there, didn't he?
Yeah, he's got flashes of it. I don't know if it's a bike thing or just hitting the ground a couple times. If there's something maybe tweaked or bothering him that nobody knows about, and he's just playing it close to the chest. I don't know, but it was great to see. And the guy's fan line is a mile long, signing autographs and all that stuff. So all is well there, he seems just happy, and same old Mookie. So I think it's just another thing coming back from injuries and getting the rust off. I just think the level has gotten so damn high that boy, if you can be one of the best in the world and just struggle horribly if you're just not on the razor's edge. It's just kind of speaks to how gnarly the sport is. It's it's just crazy and boggles my mind, that a guy like Mookie is getting ninth, and he's just on, so fast and a badass. And Sexton, yeah, I think he's probably just dealing with that arm thing. It's probably better than it was, but yeah, he didn't look like he was on fire and championship racing contention. He was kind of just executing right and salvaging points is what it looked like. He just was not on fire out there. And hey, but hey, you win your championships on your bad days too, and he's still in it. So good on him.
Yeah, Brad, any thoughts on Sexton and Mookie? And obviously Christian Craig withdrew from the event with that injury, just sort of aggravating it, struggling. So yeah, a bit of a mixed fortunes for the Huskies teams this year, that's for sure. Obviously RJ's holding the fort in his division, but yeah, it's been tough for those 450 guys, hasn't it?
Yeah, obviously a real blow for Craig going out with the elbow injury. Mookie showed some good flashes, obviously that heat race. But again in the main event, things just don't seem to go his way. I mean, you don't get the start, you put yourself in situations where bad things can happen. So it's if he can get it out the gate, then he's obviously got the speed to run there. But you get these bad starts, and yeah, you put yourself in positions for bad things to happen. So I mean, you start behind Freezy, it's like, fuck me, you're up against it to begin with. So I mean, not that Freezy had anything to do with Mookie, but it's just another thing you got to try and contend with. Um, so yeah, obviously, I mean, he knows he needs to get better starts. Nothing he probably hasn't been told, and nothing he hasn't thought about himself. But that's I think that's purely where the the main crux of his problems are coming from. The fact that he's starting in that mayhem that is sort of like that 7th, 15th pack. He needs to get like a top 5 start and break away with the front boys. And yeah, Sexton, like I said earlier, I think he's kind of reminds me of Dungey when he first moved to KTM in 2012. Just doesn't look bad, doesn't look spectacular, just sort of logging the laps. If it comes to him, it comes to him, but he's not really forcing the issue. You're not seeing any blistering lap times or anything to write home about. It's just sort of out there. Like a data test track, just putting in laps, lap after lap after lap. And I mean, sometimes that's enough to win the championship. But I think this year you need to have that speed as well. And I think that speed that he had on the Honda last year just isn't there at the moment for whatever reason. But yeah, just I mean, yeah, like I said, he doesn't. It's not like he's awful by any means. I mean, he's got a he's he's had the red plate and he's up there. It's just nothing. I don't look at him and think, yeah, he's going to be in this right the way to the end. I feel like he's just purely in it because everyone else has been so up and down over these first few rounds. But I think in a minute you're going to see that level off, and you're going to see like Jet, Tomac, Webb sort of consistently be in that top five, and they're going to start breaking away in the points. And yeah, that's when you're really going to see Sexton just sort of fall off the back, and yeah, just the year will just sort of get away from him. I think. I mean, I could be totally wrong. I don't know what he's going through. I know he's suffering from a bit of an injury as well, so that could have something to do with it. But yeah, just obviously from watching from the comfort of my living room, where it's very easy to criticize. He just doesn't look like he's got that intensity that he had on the Honda for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see how his season plays out. And yeah, maybe you would have expected a bit more after that sort of week break to sort of get himself fit and primed. But yeah, Daytona's going to be a great one, like you've all said. And as we close this one off, lads, any final thoughts? Obviously, military appreciation around Jeff. The bikes were looking pretty cool. There's some great stuff there to see. The fans must have had a really nice show there from the teams that got involved in it. And just Whiskey Throttle, mate, you lads are crushing the content. Obviously, the Pierce Brown podcast, the Marv podcast, they're all excellent stuff. So how's the week looking ahead for you and the lads? And just give us a little rundown and any final thoughts.
Well, some of us were actually able to make it to the Triumph thing this week, so that's a little dig at Brad. But no, we're gonna. I just wanted to rub it in a little bit.
Is this your knife? Is this your knife in my back?
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, that's not a knife. That's a dagger. It's what an asshole. Sorry, I couldn't resist. That was funny. Yeah. So pinging those guys who are down there covering it. We've got a special guest rider because Dave isn't able to ride right now because of his hand or whatever he's got going on there. So you guys stay tuned. It's going to be pretty epic when we drop that. And then we got the arena cross stuff coming up on the East Coast for Daytona, and then of course Daytona Supercross, and that's when our boy Jacob's going to hop in there and start doing some of the East Coast feed stuff. And so it'd be a little bit of shift in who's out there in the field, but logistically, America's a big place, and boy, if we got somebody on the East Coast, that's pretty awesome. And Jacobs dropped some rad edits. He did the Yamaha off-road launch up in the Carolinas last week, and his stuff came out cool. Go check it out on our YouTube. And I'm going back to work, and I don't think I'm going to be able to weasel my way out of any more work to go to a race. It's just not in the cards until Seattle. But yeah, sometimes I guess I got to go be an adult and go do my job so I can go do more racing is the way I look at it. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Bruce did a GP today. The Dunlop kind of sponsored a team race, so we'll have that coming out, and that's for that new what is that? The all-terrain 82, I think is what they call it, the new off-road tires. So we'll have a little review coming on that, and I'm gonna post that up to Whiskey Throttle's Instagram here in a few minutes. And then yeah, just kind of keep trucking, man. And we've got a industry dual sport ride segment we're doing with our Austrian brand bikes. We got a KTM 350 EXCF and a Husky 501, the FC 501, which are just rad bikes. So much fun. If you guys haven't done any dual sport riding, go out and check those out. So we're going to have that episode of Along for the Ride. That's going to be your series premiere. We're dropping here pretty quick. So we're just trucking along and doing our thing and trying to bring some rad content out there. And we'll tag you boys up when we get that Triumph ride in there and some first impressions. We just did some first impressions on the beta. We were the first ones to ride the beta 450, and we made a quick little edit on that, and we're going to get some more time on that thing here in the next couple weeks. So a lot of cool stuff coming out on the new bikes. It's exciting times, and hopefully we have passports and we can get over and go to the Ducati launch and meet Brad over there and
and go have some fun. That'd be pretty rad. And man, I hope I'm free when that comes out, because I have passport, will travel. That would be epic to go see the Ducati for the first time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be applying for several passports and several citizenships.
Have a backup copy.
Yeah,
Backup
in
copies.
the coming weeks.
Jason Bourne.
So yeah. So I will be, whatever test is next, I'll be there. Whether it's a Ducati or a Triumph 50, I'll be there.
Yeah, lad, been a great podcast again. Thanks again for taking the time. And yeah, obviously like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Fox, Scott, and Whole Shot Motorhomes, as well as Even Strokes for all their incredible support, as without them, none would be possible. All right, thanks again, lads, and all the best for the rest of the week. It should be a good one.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on, man. And yeah, let's catch up after the next round of Daytona, man. That'll be some great stuff to talk about. I think that race is going to be all time.
Absolutely, well said. Have a good one.
Cheers, dudes.
You too.